That was really
Two
just
heads are better than one.
that really wasn't a true offer, you know that.
The meeting of the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors has now come to order. Mr. Bowen, will you give us the invocation, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Let's go to the Father. Lord, again, we come together as a board body that you have allowed us to be here. And we're so much thankful for that, and we thank for all the blessings you've given us, and we thank you for the blessings we don't recognize. Father, we lift up the Amish community. Father, there's such sad news in Cumberland, and Father, we know losing family members, and we all have a time. And Lord, we just lift those children up and that family up to you as well. And then we just ask you for your presence through Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. We'll now have the approval of the minutes from February through September. Get a motion to adopt.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes February 25th, 2021 and September 16th, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from February the 25th and September 16th. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. We will now have delegations from the public. Please be reminded that you are given 5 minutes to speak. 5 minutes. Now, I haven't gotten the list yet.
That's right.
Okay. The first person to speak is Mr. Abbott. Will you come forward, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Costin.
Good evening.
My 2 basic questions began in June, and now it's October. I'd like to know why Mr. Ronnie Rourke hired Sands Anderson and made them county attorneys, and was the former county administrator authorized to engage a vendor without board approval? I provided all the appropriate documentation last month. I believe some of you think it is my intent to disparage the former county administrator. That is absolutely false. It is my attempt to find out how this board and the county administrator work. If no one of you know the why, then how could you approve the hiring months later without asking questions? And is there a dollar limit on the administrator's approval prior to board approval? Secondly, how did the electoral board get the county attorneys to represent them? Are their costs coming out of the registrar electoral board budget, since it's been claimed that the county is mandated to cover all electoral board directed costs because it's in the code? Is this a way around budgets, appropriations, and Board of Supervisor votes? Items like legal costs in the thousands of dollars, lock changing cost at Burkeville School, including the building and the registrar's office, $6,250 to $8,000 to compensate the interim registrar's trainer, office clerks, so titled to avoid naming them assistant registrars, all the traditional costs of early voting, now including Sunday, officer of election training, carryover and new officers, Election day costs. The unknown costs related to the registrar's search delegated to the county human resource department. Just an example of the electoral board's transfer of their specific responsibilities. How can the county's attorneys represent the Board of Supervisors in any dispute with the electoral board? Wouldn't that be a conflict of interest? Please share with all of us the rules, requirements, and situations to have the Sands Anderson County attorneys be assigned as legal representatives. Remember, it wasn't too long ago when the firm represented the board, the county administrator, and staff. Is there a policy, procedure, that outlines a dollar limit on the county administrator in the financial decision-making process before board approval is required? Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to one of those questions. Let's get water. If that's okay?
Go right on.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott. I did have a conversation with Mr. Rourke, and one of the questions you asked is why did he feel like he needed Sands Anderson? And, you know, when someone tells you the answer to that question, but then when you get something in writing that says to validate that, I believe it's true. Mr. Rourke felt like there was a constant harassment with a group of people daily. And actually, one of these people came into this big office and is quoted to say there was a group who set out to have the prior county administrator removed. So I believe that happened. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you asked me the why. I think he felt like he was being harassed, and he felt like he wasn't being treated fairly, and he felt like the board could not protect him.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We aren't going to get into a discussion.
No, I just wanted to answer. That's
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
All I wanted to say was thank you. I appreciate the opportunity just to say thanks.
Thank you. Okay. I have a letter from Mr. Rourke that I'm not going to read tonight because it's been my custom since I've been chairman not to read the letters. We would rather the people come and appear before us. But the letter has been sent to both the Courier Record and also to the Crew Burkeville Journal. So please read that letter in next week's paper. You have not received it because it was only mailed today. Okay? And that would clarify some of the questions that you have, Mr. Abbott, and some of the others.
Mr. Chairman, could I clarify my position on that?
Yes, but we don't normally engage in conversations. The delegation from the public is for us to listen to what the citizens have to say.
And I understand.
Go ahead, then.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abbott, in March, I believe, it was the middle of March regular board meeting, that's when I found out Sands Anderson had been hired. I voted against it. The county administrator had not contacted me in any way, shape, or form. And as many citizens know, during that time, I was not engaged in a lot of conversations that was going on over there in that office. That has since changed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Okay, Mrs. Norton. Daphne Norton.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board.
good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Costin, it's been a long time.
Yes, it
How
is.
you doing?
I'm coming before you tonight, not to fuss. Followed the chain of command, and I want to talk about something going on in my neighborhood. I live at 1229 Bible Way Road, and close to me is the corner of Tyler Road. And we have got a huge issue, and I will show you a picture. This is our neighborhood. A lot of y'all know our nice neighborhood. Most of the houses out there are over $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Not tooting our horn, it's just a nice neighborhood. Well, now this is our neighborhood. On the corner of Bible Way and Tyler Road, they have decided to make it a dump. I called, emailed Helen, and Helen came out and she looked, and now they've thrown off, I think when you were there, the sofa was on the side of the road.
Yeah, it was.
And I, in turn, also sent a letter to the property owner, Mr. Freeman, who lives in France, which is a huge problem because he can't do anything about it. I sent that letter on the 27th of September and received no response. And I'm just coming to you tonight to see what we can do about it. I want to see if y'all have any ordinances in place, not just for my neighborhood, but everywhere, and what we can do about this. I mean, I'm not going to pick the sofa up and take it to the dump and pay for it. I have talked to some of my neighbors. My cousin's Ronnie Boyd down the road, and he's out of town, but he caught somebody dumping trash. And several people have seen people dumping trash and gotten license plates and all that. And I'm not talking about bags of trash. I'm talking about large refuse. This is televisions, tires. And this neighborhood is a nice neighborhood. I mean, it's maybe, on 4th mile from my house. And I work my butt off, 2 and 3 jobs to have what I have. And all our neighbors keep their places nice. We just don't want this in our neighborhood. And we've offered to buy it. The man wants an ungodly amount of money for it. The house on it has fallen down. It's full of asbestos, so that inhibits his sale potential. But I want to come to you and see if we can reach some sort of resolution that maybe the county can come pick the trash up and bill the man. Then if he doesn't bill it, doesn't pay the bill, then put his property up for sale, something. But it's horrible. It is just nasty. But the only positive is the trash is in the road, so now the drug dealers don't come and sell drugs, which I've talked to our sheriff about. And another thing too, and I've called the sheriff's office several times, I don't know if there's any noise ordinances, so to say, but the trucks and the kids, they're young people in trucks, every Friday and Saturday night, and I've talked to the sheriff about setting folks out there. I kid you not, they go 80, 90 miles an hour down that road. And when you wake me up out of a dead sleep at 2 in the morning with your music going boom, 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 that's a problem. That's a problem. But I'm just coming to see if we can seek some sort of resolution, and that y'all need to get on the ball with these ordinances and see what we can do. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Ms. Norton.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Nolan, can I take those pictures from you? Okay. I can't see as good as I used to, Ms. Nolan. I trust you, but I want to get a little
I
closer.
forwarded you.
Remember, we're the same age.
You want me to speak to it?
Yes, please.
Did, and I forwarded to
Mr. Norton.
So it's
Ms. Norton.
Just to let you all know, we have gotten the complaint through Ms. Simmons, and Mr. Lewis, the building official, has been out and taken a look at it. We have the difficulty of, there is a litter ordinance or litter code in the county, but it really pertains to active dumping, which means you have to catch the person dumping. So, and then with the Commonwealth and the sheriff here, those people have to be willing to appear in court and say, I saw this person do
Did
this.
catch, well, I didn't, the mail lady that delivers the mail caught a guy one day and turned it in, and he came to pick the stuff up.
Okay, if we could, if you have license plate numbers, but all, the people that provide those numbers have to be able to be willing to come into court and testify that they saw that particular person, not just that car, but that particular person. I'll defer to the Commonwealth on how she might want to proceed, but we can't do anything unless, the way our code is written right now, it has to be, the person doing the dumping has to be seen doing the dumping. So there are some code provisions. I experienced this down in Greensville when I was there, that we had an active code enforcement officer, and they would actually, suit up and go through the trash, and between bills and mail, they could usually track the trash back to somebody, and rather than go to court, they would go and pick it back up and take it where it was supposed to be. But we'll certainly look into it, see what we can do.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Yates.
Can you guys hear me? It's way up high. I'm Sue Yates from Crew, and I'm a citizen of Nottoway County. And I really didn't come here tonight with any prepared statement like I normally do, but rather to just address some questions that citizens have asked me over the last several months. I have been asked what my goal is in Nottoway County. So I've been very proactive, if that's the word we want to use, in advocating for change in Nottoway County. And in short, so that all of the supervisors know that it has never been my goal to come up here and poke you and harass you or be mean to you, but rather to be holding you all accountable for the things that you should be doing for our county. With that being said, what my goal is, ultimately, is to bring Nottoway County out of poverty. Our county is the 7th highest in poverty in the state of Virginia. And we don't deserve that. We deserve better. We have a great community here. And I've done a lot of research on the community. I've looked back over the years and talked to older citizens. I recently was told by somebody fairly high up in the county that back in the 70s, this county was actually held in esteem in the state and was an example of what other counties wanted to aspire to be. So my question to everybody becomes, what happened? Why did we fall off that platform? Because we have. It's my opinion that we've fallen off that platform because of leadership, period. You know, what happens to us as a result of leadership. We have 3 supervisors up here that have served collectively for 47 years in this county. Bearing that in mind, I came to the county here a few weeks or a while back and asked for a copy of our ordinances. And I was given this big, thick volume of stuff, and it had everything in it but ordinances to maintain our county, to keep it clean, to remove burned out trailers, to take out, to make owners remove homes that have trees growing out of the middle of them, to take care of the litter on the roads that Daphne was just speaking about. And so I'm wondering, I have some questions. One, I want to know, and I'm going to ask the 3 longest serving members, which would be Mr. Bowen, Mr. Vaughn, and Mrs. Simmons, what they have done in their tenure to address these issues, or if they've even ever come up, because it appears that we have no ordinances to take care of these things. With that being said, my next question, and I'll end on this, is what is the plan to fix this problem, to create ordinances for Nottoway County that can be implemented and enacted so that we can begin cleaning our county up and moving it forward? That's what I would like to know, and I'm hoping that I can get a response. I would rather have a response that says we haven't addressed it and here's what we're looking towards doing than to have no response at all. So I guess that's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think it may be fair to say, let Ms. Yates and the rest of the citizens know, these ordinance conversations have been had with Mr. Costin and myself since he's been here. Mr. Lewis is only one person, Dean Lewis, and he's taken on the soil and erosion job as well with some additional training. Now, to be fair, things could move faster, but that takes additional personnel in order to do it. There's a way to get 20 people in a staff room, but it will require an enormous tax increase. If that's what the citizens want, then we should address that. But in the meantime, and I agree, things move with government at the speed of molasses, but it is moving. I'll give you my word on that. Those conversations with ordinance are being had. They're planned to be reviewed and updated.
All right, that's the last person on delegation from the public. We'll now have the public hearing. And the public hearing, will you talk about that, Mr. Constant?
I'd be happy to, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the board. This is a special exception hearing held on the authority of Section 15.2, 2204 Code of Virginia. The applicant is Mr. Lonnie Smith. This is for a bed and breakfast on property identified as tax map 4259A. That property is zoned C1. Interestingly enough, this case comes to us as an enforcement action. We were put on notice by the health department that there were some additional bedrooms tied into a septic system, and conversations were held between the health department, my office, and the applicant, as well as some of the applicant's agent, as this property was pending sale, and that sale was held up by our enforcement action. There had been some building permits issued on the property. There had been some work done beyond the scope of those building permits. There had been work done outside of any building permits. All of this was brought forward and has been captured into the use of the property and proposed or projected use of the property. The property was being marketed as a potential bed and breakfast. So we kind of followed that line of thought. And while this application has been pending, the applicant has undertaken, as a show of good faith, goodwill, he has undertaken some improvements to the property to bring it into compliance with the building code, as well as the Department of Health regulations. Again, because of the way the property had been developed, the most suitable application to apply, the most suitable use determination on this property was as a potential bed and breakfast. We've shared the application materials with the various state agencies, the Health Department, Highway Department, and we have captured their comments in a proposed set of conditions. The property, in the addition of a bed and breakfast, conforms to a description of the area in the zoning ordinance, which is compatible to the description of the property in the comprehensive plan. The normal operations of a bed and breakfast are such that while traffic may increase, the operation is more akin to a residential activity and will not produce glare, fumes, or noise to an excessive degree. A few homes are visible from the property, but the natural landscaping and the professional landscaping about the property serves as a nice buffer for that. The application is limited to just the parcels that have been developed, although some adjoining property that he owns is also involved in the transaction to change the ownership. Because the property is developed in a residential manner, impacts on groundwater, environmentally sensitive areas, refuge management, and other factors identified in the zoning ordinance at section 5-5-2:8, and those are 37 different factors, have all been addressed and are found to be conforming. The staff recommends approval with the 9 conditions that you have before you in the report. Last Tuesday night, the Planning Commission heard this special exception, and they also...
Let me have my hearing first, and
Okay.
then we'll make the recommendations.
My apologies, you turned it over to me. I thought that's what you... Well, let me
Finish.
if I may, just finish with the report that the Planning Commissions also recommended approval and with those same conditions imposed.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone to speak for it? Mr. Smith, will you come forward and speak for it?
Thank you for allowing me to come today.
Good evening.
As Mr. Costin said, the day of closing, we were doing a walkthrough and we got information that we found out that the deed was not being approved because we were not in compliance with our outbuildings. What had happened is our septic system had collapsed and we were in the process of getting that redone for the closing. And when the health inspector came out, she determined that some buildings that had been there since the 40s, we had put beds in those, and one we had put a kitchen. We didn't realize we were not compliant. Had we known, we would have done what was necessary to bring it up to compliance prior to that. But in doing so, once we found out we were not compliant, we went ahead and undertook the expense of going ahead and bringing it up. We added the additional septic lines. We had the inspections done, which we thought we had had finals on everything prior to that. But once we found out, we brought it up to compliance. I also went around and got a signed statement from all of my neighbors up and down Walnut Hill Road, up and down East Courthouse Road. Anyone that adjoins my property, across from my property, virtually every neighbor I have, and all signed a statement saying they had no issue with us getting or using them as a bed and breakfast, which currently we just want the use of the bedroom so that we can be able to sell the home.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else to speak for? Are you the only one to speak for?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, is it anyone here to speak against? Is it anyone here to speak against? Now, we'll have a recommendation from the Planning Commission, and then the board will make a decision.
Mr. Chairman, as noted, the Planning Commission's recommendation is to approve with the conditions contained in the staff report.
Okay. Any, Mr. Rourke, do you have anything?
I see no reason not to approve.
Okay. Mr. Bowen?
I was with the Planning Commission, so if there's no further comment, I'd like to put a motion on the floor to go ahead and approve this this special exception.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we grant this permit to you, Mr. Smith. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Go on, hold.
Go right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
sorry. Close the public
Let me,
hearing.
I'm sorry.
that was my fault. So I'll, let me
Well,
withdraw my motion.
You're just being natural, Mr.
No, that's all right.
The public hearing is now closed. Okay.
Let me redo my motion, Mr. Rowe. Mr. Vaughn.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, there, partner. I move to approve special session for a bed and breakfast operation to be approved with the conditions recommended by the staff as the use is compatible to the area and expands the county's economy.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the permit, special exception permit. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Ms. Giles.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay. We have a presentation, and the presentation will be from Mrs. Rose
Mastrocco.
Mastrocco. Mastrocco, am I right? Okay, go right on.
Good evening, Chairman Vaughn, members of the board,
Good evening.
Mr. Costin. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to speak to you tonight, and I am looking forward to be serving as the interim director for social services. Been in for a couple of weeks. I think maybe one of the things that may interest you the most as different things are going on in social services, and what I was interested in before I even signed on the dotted line, was Fort Pickett and how we are affected in social services. So I just wanted to give you a little information about that, of what I do know, with the caveat that things do change. When I get information, sometimes I'll get something else, but here's what we know so far. In Fort Pickett, where there's over 7,000 people, right now, none of them are eligible for the program known as SNAP, which is also known as food stamps. That's because all of them receive their meals there. So we will not be getting any applications coming through for SNAP. Right now, because of the residency requirements and that they're not permanent residents of this county or other counties, they're also not eligible for what are certain types of cash payments. So we won't be seeing any of that. However, they are eligible in certain circumstances for Medicaid. And one of the concerns I had coming in, as you can imagine, staff, is that we'd have an influx of thousands of applications. At this point, we do not. We have received 2, but we were advised by the state to turn those over, and there's a process in place by the Department of Medical Assistance that they will be working with any applications that come from Fort Pickett. The only thing they've asked us to do as a social services is just be a place where the address can go. I mean, that we can use for an address for them, because all mail that goes to Fort Pickett to the African refugees comes back. So they just asked us to hold the mail, and someone from that department will come and pick it up. The things that I'm still working on and do not have a final answer for you yet is how we will handle complaint for Child Protective Services if there's abuse at Fort Pickett, if there's adult abuse on Fort Pickett. I do not have a final answer for that. We have had situations come, the state police have alerted us to maybe a couple of situations which have turned out okay. In the meantime, the state police have been asked to take all complaints through what we have a hotline. You're probably aware of that. There's a hotline that you need to go through a portal. And so they've been advised to do that rather than to come to us personally. As far as how these are going to be handled, as far as what we can do to help them, I'm still in a holding pattern about that. So as each day opens up and more people are helping me, I will be sure to advise Mr. Costin and any of you on the board that would like to know more. So at this point, I guess I'm just going to open myself up if you have any questions for me or anything.
Okay. Welcome to Nottoway County.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. I'm just a half an hour away. I'm in Amelia, and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
John, you've been talking a lot.
I know. I told you I was in a good mood when I got here, man.
Yeah. You even brought me candy.
Yeah, I did. I brought candy, and it's out there, so everybody get a little bit of, yeah, get some when you go out, you know. I wanted everybody to have a sweet tooth in here tonight. I had the pleasure of sitting down with probably 2/3 of the social services staff last week. And if I make this reference make sense now, if someone's performance could be detailed in an applause, those employees are giving her a standing ovation at this point. And I shared that with her, and that was wonderful. She was a little bit nervous. She is very detail-oriented, but she's spot on in her performance. And the question I do have for you, since you opened yourself for a question here, is this. Does the board have a representative, the board of supervisors have a representative that is helpful to you?
Gosh, you know what? We have the best representative from the Board of Supervisors that's on our social service board.
every day.
Oh, God.
And one final comment. This is what I told him when he said to me about, you know, standing ovation and all that. This is a honeymoon. I have been there 2 weeks. I mean, you know how it goes. You could do anything in 2 weeks. I just, you know, as we move on and things progress, of course, there'll be issues and things that people may not be happy about. But I love what I do. I've been a social service director before I retired, and I love the work. So hopefully you'll continue to get good comments. We'll see. All right. Anything else you would like from me?
No.
No, thank
Okay.
In it.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, department reports. I think they're in the package. So.
Mr. Chairman, the Highway Department is in your brief mail packet that we handed out tonight. That one came in a little late.
Okay.
And I think you, Mr. Supervisor Bowen, may want to address or speak to the Nottoway Planning Commission.
Yeah, the planning commission met, because we had, I think it was two public hearings, right, Mr. Costin? But anyway, one thing that we're in the middle of is updating our comp plan. Mm-hmm. And as you know, you heard some verbiage tonight about, you know, and I appreciate Mr. Costin. I think did you give them all the survey that's going out? Okay.
I did not.
Okay, all right, well, I'm gonna share, I'm gonna share that with you guys. So, here they are over here in this corner. But anyway, just as an example of the survey that's going out, that the comp committee had come up with, and then the planning commission agreed. Of course, we're going through CRC to help us with this. And,
Exactly.
And one of the questions on there is, on the survey, is just what somebody had spoke on tonight. I think, I thought I circled it, but I got things all, I think Lynn is messing my stuff up here. I had to blame it. Can you take that down and let them see that?
Well,
Is that one survey? Is that multiple
I knew
copies?
somebody was going to ask that. No,
No,
that's
no,
just
it's 4 pages.
That's a stack of 100 right there.
Okay, I was gonna say, ain't nobody gonna fill that survey.
Well, and I think we want you to take a few, if you know a place where the population is gathering. I think they're taking some down to Crew Station. I mean, Blackstone and the libraries. With any ideas like that, Crew Library, Piedmont Hospital, we're taking them there. Things like that. But one of the questions in the survey is like, you know, what type of things, what kind of, here it is, what should the county's priorities be to improving quality of life? And what people have to, this is a way of hearing what the people got to say. Not, you know, we found sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but let's hear what everybody's got to say, and then that comp plan should reflect that.
We have a cross-section of people here tonight, Mr. Bowen.
Yeah, you
We
could
want to
leave
give
some.
us some tonight.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have,
That's why you're in the seat.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have a stack at the county administration office. The Commissioner of Revenue's agreed to put some out, the Treasurer's agreed to put some out, as well as the Extension Office.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you,
So
Mr.
we've got them spread out through the complex.
Right.
And then as the several other places that
Yeah, that's
Mr.
right.
Bowen has indicated.
So the comp committee and the planning commission we're trying to stay on schedule so we can get this done within the next year. And it's time consuming, and we're having multiple meetings, and they're already scheduled almost through the whole year. So hopefully, I can give you some updated news, maybe, you know, how things are going probably after New Year, okay? January.
All right.
Yeah, I'll put that back.
To deliver
Yeah.
your place of employment.
Mrs. Bryan is here.
Thank you, Mr. Costin, I appreciate it.
Mrs. Bryan, Highway Department.
I don't believe she.
She's
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I'm
She's
sorry.
right there.
Oh, it is.
Would you come forward, please, Ms. Bryan?
We know how you VDOT people are.
The question is now, do you want something to drink?
Actually, you missed one of our meetings because you hurt your knee or something.
did.
So don't do that again.
Right, and that's why I'm kind of dressed down with my shoes. I didn't want to take any chances to twist the thing again, but I did want to update you a little bit on the report. I had some additional information. Our last round of mowing will start in mid-November, and normally our last round of mowing is from right-of-way to right-of-way. Our contractor will come through and they'll do their mowing, and then our forces come through and mow the remainder. The 618 bridge, I'm sure a lot of people will be happy that that's expected to be complete in October. So hopefully by early November, people will be using that road again. Brush cutting has been done on a lot of secondary routes, and we're getting a lot of the trimming on some of the low-hanging branches. Safety study is still ongoing for 619 Tyler Road. As soon as we get the recommendations and results of that, we will provide that to Mrs. Simmons. We have been performing some chip sealing on a lot of the secondary routes, single seal. Our state forces are doing that. And then the last thing is I wanted to advise the board that within the next 30 days, there's going to be a detour that's going to take place out here because the bridge over Business 460 over 460, we're going to be doing some repairs to the bearings, and you cannot do those repairs under live load. So they're gonna have to detour the traffic, so the westbound traffic will not be able to take the ramp to get to the courthouse or to Business 460. So westbound traffic will go down to the Route 607 route crossover. No. So they'll go to the crossover and make the U-turn to get to the ramp that way. So, and that should start within the next 30 days. And I don't know at this point what the duration of that will be. So, but that's going to be the only part that's going to be affected. So, and that's the only additional items that I had to our report. So do you all have any questions or anything for me?
No, just a comment. I'm glad that that second cutting is being done. A guy told me the other day that if it was mowed in between, maybe the deer would have saw him and not run into him when he. Right.
The third mowing this year.
Yeah, I know. It's been one of those wet seasons and the grass has grown. I get it. Yeah.
Yes, it has. And I do want to remind people that when we do mow the first and the second mow of the season, we do participate in the pollinator program, so that's why you see the center of the median's not mowed, because that is to allow, provide the pollinators
Gotcha.
flowers and milkweed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'll just let you know that that detour information has been sent to all the first responder organizations.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bryan. Okay, the school board, Ms. Tomer.
I don't really have anything to add. I just wanted to make note that you have both September and October reports in your package. One of them you received this evening. Both of them contain, I think, 4 budget adjustments that are going to require a public hearing. But there's other matters, I think Mr. Costa will probably address in his report, that we can take out to you.
Okay. Anything else?
The library, did we do the library? I see Miss Sandra.
Mrs. Z's here.
Oh,
The library.
Zeta Whiskey, she's here at the library.
Is that a whiskey?
Yeah, just-
Not okay.
okay. Did you comment about the library too?
No, she's here. Miss Adams, do you want to say something?
Normally, I just speak to you when I'm asked for information. So, I thought this would be a little different. I see in the agenda that there are a couple of budget adjustments for grants that we're receiving. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Had questions about the grants.
No.
No,
What was that?
no. She just asked, do we have any question about the grants in the package? No. No, ma'am, thank
ma'am.
you.
Okay, any more department reports? Okay, constitutional losses. I don't see Ms. Brown. Sheriff. I don't see Mrs. Myatt. Ms. Hudson, I don't see. Ms. Walters.
Do we have these in alphabetical order? Miss Walters is always last. Do you ever notice that?
I'm used to
That's
it.
the
In
liberal.
school, in years of school, everything was alphabetical.
Right, W.
I wanted to just give the board an update. As I think you all are aware, I've had one position advertised all year, pretty much since December. My one assistant that I've had, tomorrow is his last day. He is moving to Northern Virginia.
Oh.
And has taken a new position up there. So I now have 2 positions advertised. I have a senior assistant position, and then I've done a part-time position. The difficulties in the job market seem to go to the legal world as well. So at this point, I will be handling everything. As you know, the office staffing needs 3 attorneys just for the felonies we do. As of tomorrow, I think I will have 340 open cases with 13 felonies. So we're a little short-staffed at the moment, so if it takes us a little while to get back to you, that is why, and I apologize for that delay. We're going to do the best we can in this interesting time that we have here.
Yeah.
So.
That's true.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hiring people is getting to be tough. Gosh.
Unfinished business. Ms. Shackleton, will you give us an update on the animal
Yes.
shelter?
You have in your package a memo from John Anzavino, the county project manager, with an update on the progress of the animal shelter. First part of the memo is a recap of how the project has evolved since Jack Boswell first offered to donate land in 2018. These are things we've discussed in the past. On page 3 of the memo, I believe, more recent project milestones, which I'm sure you've had a chance to read. Since the last board meeting for the month of October, we'll point those out. Design firm representatives from Timmons and RRMM visited the property for an initial review as part of site suitability analysis. On October 12th, Mr. Anzavino met with Timmons, Burkeville Mayor Welch, and the town public utility representatives, Jack Boswell, to discuss the location of existing town water and sewer services and the best locations for siting of water and sewer lines. There was communication with Timmons and RRMM concerning water demand, whether building sprinkler systems would be required, which they're not, and sewer possibility of grinder pump or alternate requirements. Early November, geotechnical work should begin. Following that, RRMM is prepared to begin the final design immediately. And construction bid documents are anticipated to be ready for formal bid solicitations in May 2022. There are a number of other components going forward. All of that's included in your package. Tonight, I would like to emphasize appreciation for our partnership with the CARES Committee. They've already raised a substantial amount of money without a formal campaign. And once they're prepared to move forward full steam on fundraising campaigns, once we can provide them with the most recent architectural report and the schematics, which are in your package tonight. So moving forward, and thanks to Mr. Anzavino for helping us stay on track with that.
Thank you, Michelle.
Good to see it moving forward, Pam.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Mr. Bowen, will you do the,
Well, I've
I
already,
mean it on a few minutes ago.
yeah, I've already gave the comprehensive plan kind of update. I put that with the planning commission, but it's in your I-2, if anybody got any questions. But the same thing, Mr. Bond.
All right, new business. District 1 housing.
So again, I think we just recently did one of these. This is another District 1 housing recipient that has met their financial obligation to the county. So you just need to authorize the county attorney to prepare the documents and release the deed of trust. But I wanted to tell you, I had asked Andrea to give me the numbers on the remaining recipients, and I think you said there were 4, am I correct? And one of those, I'm pretty sure we'll be bringing to you in the next month or 2. So they have been some of the most appreciative people that we have had to deal with. It has been an amazing experience, and I'm glad that this has worked out for them. So.
Okay, we need a motion to,
Mr. Chairman, I was part of that District 1 housing project, and so I make a motion that we approve this deed of trust for the Miller.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded that we get Mrs. Tomer the authority to,
The county attorney.
County attorney.
County attorney.
and the county attorney to work with the deed of trust for this house. Question.
It's a certificate of satisfaction, and it has been prepared. So I would ask that you add to the motion, just authorizing the chairman to execute that, and then us to record.
Okay.
Motion is to-
Mr. Chairman, let me restate my motion, if that's
Okay.
okay. I move to authorize the county attorney to prepare and file the necessary documents to release the deed of trust on the Miller property at a District 1 housing project, and give the chairman the authority to sign off on that certificate.
I'll second that.
It's been seconded. I'm not gonna read that whole motion, Mr. Bowen. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But anyway,
Katie got it.
what we're doing is giving the attorney the authority,
Yes, sir.
authority to work up the deed of trust for this house in District 1. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Katie, will you get with the attorney on that, please? Thank you. VACO voting credentials.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And for the record, let us note that on February, I'm skipping ahead, November 14 through 16, 2021, the members of the board will be attending the Virginia Association of Counties, and I look forward to attending that event with them. I think it's been virtual the last couple of years, and nice to get back to some normalcy. But for the business matters of that association, the county needs to appoint a voting delegate. I'm advised that historically that has usually been the chairman, with the alternate delegate being the vice chairman. This is up to you all's discretion, but the staff would recommend naming the voting delegate as the chairman and the alternate delegate as the vice chairman, and not exercising the proxy. That the proxy is designed for a county that might not be attending and giving their voting rights to another representative. With so many of us going, I don't think that's necessary. So a motion to designate the voting delegate as the chairman, with the alternate being the vice chairman.
Need a motion to.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to designate the Nottaway County Board of Supervisors voting delegate as Chairman Vaughn, and the alternate delegate supervisor as Vice Chair Shelkerton.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we designate our chairman and vice chairman as the voting delegates. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Department of Social Services, the lease.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, before she retired, I was able to meet with Ms. Watkins, and during that meeting, I learned that the lease that the Department of Social Services has on the office space down the complex a ways was expiring at the end of this month. And this came to my attention after your board, after your packet had been done for September. Speaking with Ms. Stracco and a representative from the Department of Social Services that handles leasing matters, the current lease is one designed based on the county having debt service on the building, and there is no debt service on this building. So we have to enter into a new type of lease. What we have agreed to is that there is a paragraph in the existing lease that basically says that allows us to make alterations to the existing lease, and they are agreeable to this, which would be to extend the lease at its current terms while we enter into a good faith effort to negotiate a new lease, an appropriate lease, and on what's commonly referred to the back end, make adjustments. And if we find ourselves owing DSS, we will credit or pay them back. And if they end up owing us, they of course will pay us for any additional cost. We have a motion in the packet that is laid out that there are critical services, obviously, provided by the social services, and certainly it's not staff's intent. I imagine it's not the board's intent to put them on the street. So the recommendation would be to adopt the motion laid out before you.
Mr. Chairman, because of the critical services provided by the Department of Social Services to the citizens of Nottaway County, and termination of the lease and potential office relocation would disrupt the provision of those services, I move that the current lease terms be extended while negotiations take place to establish a new lease, and that the county administrator be authorized to enter into those negotiations in recognition of potential payment rate adjustments.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we extend the present lease, and then we enter into a conversation on establishing a new lease. Is that basically what you were saying, Ms. Shackleton? Yes, okay. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Early voting, expansion, and the Sunday vote grant.
Mr. Chairman, at the request of the Electoral Board, we were asked to put this item back on the agenda since they were able to now document the actual expenditures. As the staff has previously recommended, if we can get any money back, we should try to get it back. You have in your additional mail from earlier this evening a communication that lays out the exact amount of money that was expended, $380.60. So I would, staff recommends that you go ahead and the motion is set out for you in order to offset expenses incurred to accept the early vote expansion and Sunday vote grant award in the amount of $380.60.
I need a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, just want to get if you don't mind, a point of procedure. So this same thing came up last meeting, and I think if you look at the minutes, and I'm looking at you, Ms. Giles, if you look at the minutes, it failed one time, then it failed a second time.
No.
Just stop for a minute.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we don't get caught up in something that we didn't follow procedure, Mr. Vaughn. That's all.
Okay.
I believe the issue before was relating to applications, or that I perceive, it would be my interpretation that this is a different status because now you're accepting the money. Previously, that was not even available, because the award had not yet been made. Amounts were being considered and evaluated.
Yeah, I got you. But you look at the.
It should be a different issue because
Okay.
it's a similar issue, but it should be a different issue because now the award has been made.
I got you. Okay, thank you. Because if you look at the minutes, it was hard to make sure we're following procedure. Thank you, Mr. Vaughn, for that clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I do have another point of clarification. If tonight, if we're going to move to accept the money, we're accepting the Sunday vote grant, but are we required to accept the early vote expansion? That's something the electoral board did, is that correct? Are we required to accept that and in order to accept the grant, or are we just looking to accept the grant tonight?
You'd be looking to accept the grant for $380.60. As I recall, what you had before you last was an amended grant application for $600 and some dollars, which was down from $43,000 and some dollars, and that vote failed. This is at the request of the electoral board to reconsider and ask for, now that they have a definitive number, they've always had the grant. Now it's a matter of, do you wish to accept the grant knowing exactly how much you're going to get back? The money has been spent.
Okay.
And that expenditure, that staff time, everything else has been worked by the electoral board.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Costin as well. In the motions here to accept, are we accepting the $627.87 because that's what was previously approved, or would the motion be for $380.60?
The motion would be for the $38.60 because you rejected the earlier amount, the higher amount.
Okay.
We're asking for what they spent, they actually spent.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I would like to take the wording of this motion and change it just a little bit. Ms. Giles, let me know if I got this correctly. This is my motion. In an attempt to save the taxpayers of Nottoway County the full cost of Sunday voting, I move to accept the early vote and expansion and Sunday vote grant award of $680.60 and encourage the electoral board and its staff to work with.
No.
380.
I'm sorry, 300, what did I say?
600. You said 600.
I was thinking what I didn't want to say and what I did say. Okay. Correcting of the figure was 600, Jared, you again, Jesus. $380.60 and encourage the electoral board and its staff to work with the county administrator's office to identify practices that will lessen the impact of any non-reimbursable expenses on the county's overall budget.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and second. And I'm hoping Katie and have gotten all of that. but on the early voting expansion and the Sunday vote grant of $380.60. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we have the consent. Katie, will you talk to us about that, please?
I'll start by sharing something pretty disappointing for you guys. I'm not perfect, I made a mistake.
No, get out of here.
You have
say
October
it.
on your memo. It's the September operating expenditures. You have a budget adjustment for the Anthem Health Insurance rebate. This has been received last few years by the county. You have the option when you receive it to either lower the current premium plan year, or you can distribute that rebate to the employees that were part of the rebate plan year. That's what we have done historically when we've received these. I encourage you to continue to do that. That ensures that, you know, it's equitable to those people that paid the premiums during that plan year. You have an erroneous assessment for a 2020 real estate tax paid on a house that was demolished in 2019. You have a request for a refund of a building permit fee. This individual obtained the permit assuming that planning to demolish a single-wide mobile home. She realized shortly thereafter that the expenses were going to outweigh the purpose of what she was trying to do. So the building inspector, he didn't have to review any plans on this. There were no inspections performed. You have a budget adjustment for animal control. That was a private business donation to the shelter. Journey Station Restaurant in Amelia chose the Nottoway Animal Shelter as their mission of the month. So that was wonderful. You have a budget adjustment for the sheriff's office. This is a payment for fuel usage by the Department of Social Services. During the time frame, what's on that is March through August. So the Communities for Immunity Grant and the American Rescue Plan Act funding for the library, that's what Ms. Adaweski was referring to. I don't have a great deal of detail about them other than what was in the package. It's the Communities for Immunity Grant. They were awarded funding of $4,410.72. And the documentation said to support the library efforts to boost COVID-19 vaccine confidence. And we have already received a portion of those funds, not the entire amount. The ARPA funding for the libraries was awarded in the amount of $8,022. And that was to be used for public computers, digital materials, and software necessary to maintain the online catalog and perform related tasks. So if there's any other explanation, I'm going to defer to Jackie on that. And lastly, you have the 2021 Local Emergency Performance Grant. We've received that historically in the last few years that I know, and we typically use that for the code red payment for the county.
Need a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar, really, consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda with the correction of the month, October.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent items with the necessary changes that.
And the health insurance rebate goes back to the
Say what?
customer. The health insurance rebate goes back to the
Yes.
employee
For that rebate plan.
for that rebate. That need to be included in the motion?
Well, that's the way that I have it in the consent calendar.
Okay, so you're okay. We don't have to say it then. Okay.
Okay. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Now, Mr. Costin, will you give your report, please?
Do you want to note the correspondence
The
items?
correspondence, you can.
Okay, I'll just note the correspondence information items in your packet. CRC items of interest, the Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department incident report, and the Piedmont Senior Resources newsletter. Okay, as the board knows, we conducted a work session addressing the county's emergency management program last week. Principal to that is the job description of the emergency services coordinator. has been posted and is distributed through various recruitment outlets. The position is open until filled, but application will commence at the end of the month. Zoning and other land development issues have gotten attention as well through request, subdivision activity, complaints, and inquiries. We've instituted a process whereby the zoning approval for home occupations and home businesses will be obtained before business licenses are issued, and that is with the cooperation of the Commissioner of Revenue, so we appreciate that. Tied to that, some of these inquiries have touched upon the policy regarding the procedures for utilizing the 911 structure numbering. That policy and procedure has been updated to reflect the actual material of the signs as well as how and where posted. The revised as well as the current policy or procedures are attached. As well, we have attached a newer version of the road naming policy. And there were no changes to that. We just put it into a slightly different format. I'd ask for the board to provide staff consent on those items to start using those forms.
Okay.
All right?
Do you need that in a motion or just a consensus?
I think just a consensus will be fine on this. This is just an administrative process of which color paper we use.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right. Mr. Anzavino, Ms. Tomer, and I received a presentation from IBM regarding construction alterations available throughout the courthouse complex that would result in water and electric savings. I had already asked the board to set a work session for November 10 at 6:30 p.m. to receive a report on the courthouse complex energy audit and suggested road forward by ABM. So I would need board action to set a work session for November 10 at 6:30 p.m. for that purpose.
Okay, I need a motion to,
I move that we set a work session November the 10th, 6:30 p.m. in the General District Courtroom.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded that we have a workshop November the 10th at 6:30.
Right?
Question. Those in favor, let be known by the usual sign.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
All right, there's some other items as far as different activities I've been involved in, but let me concentrate on Fort Pickett. We've already heard some information about Fort Pickett. We have been able the last couple of months to have sit-down meetings with the Virginia National Guard and key leadership in Operation Welcome Allies. The first meeting was that I attended was in the company with Chairman Vaughn, and a second meeting has been attended with Ms. Shackleton just 2 days ago. One question that was initially asked, I want to say back in August, had to do with sanitizing the environs of around Fort Pickett, and we have received an answer on how that is being done, and it is being done with some regularity. There is a schedule for future meetings being developed. Now, between the first and second meeting, there was another opportunity provided to us to meet with the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Hicks. Ms. Shackleton attended that meeting with me, along with Mayor Welch of Burkeville and the sheriff. We again reviewed impacts and concerns and do await some follow-up activity. Again, I look forward to being with the board November 14 through 16 in Norfolk for the annual Virginia Association of Counties conference. But I do have a new item that has come forward, and it's in your mail packet provided this evening. I need a board action to authorize a public hearing. This public hearing is to consider budget adjustments. Ms. Tomer had already alluded to those regarding the school board. Those total $1,336,699.99, as well as some bonuses for the sheriff's the sheriff and the sheriff deputies. Most of these bonuses are being provided by the compensation board for those funded positions through the compensation board, but there are 4 deputies that the county funds, so the total impact would be $54,000 with all but $12,000 offset. But I have a drafted motion here that I would ask that the board just basically authorize a public hearing at your next regular scheduled meeting for these budget adjustments. And at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions you have on any of the matters that I've spoken to.
Is the budget, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I ask one? This this is, just say, $1.3 million, is this money that we're losing or we got coming back to us?
These are carryovers in new funding sources that have come forward to the school system. These have to be built, reflected into the budget.
Wow, okay.
You said you had a motion drafted?
Yes, it's in the cover memo.
Mr. Chairman, I move to direct staff to prepare and advertise for public hearing at our next regular meeting a budget adjustment concerning bonuses for Sheriff's Department personnel, as well as carryovers, new funding sources for the school board.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we have a public hearing next month at our regular board meeting to address the items concerning the school board. Question?
In the Sheriff's Department.
And the Sheriff's Department. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's
Okay.
all I have.
All righty, will you go over the closed session?
I'll leave it to one of the members of the board to, I have a proposed motion, but it is to go into closed session for consultation with legal counsel regarding zoning litigation, as well as employment law issues in multiple departments, including but not limited to the Office of the General Registrar and the Public Library System. I believe the motion has been crafted and is ready for the board. Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Supervisors of Nottaway County, Virginia convene a closed meeting in accordance with Virginia Code 2.2-3712 for the purpose of discussing those matters lawfully exempted from open meeting pursuant to those code sections, the described legal exemptions, and the subjects to be discussed as set forth on the agenda of this open meeting, all of which is here referenced and made a part of this motion. Personnel in consultation with legal counsel regarding specific matters, including but not limited to the Office of the General Registrar and the Public Library System, consultation with legal counsel regarding zoning litigation now pending in the Nottaway County Circuit Court.
okay, I need a second.
Second.
Oh, okay. We'll get John that one, Steve.
He got it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we go into closed session, citing the code 2.2-3711. A-1. Question. Those in favor, let it be known by the usual sign. Those opposed, the ayes have it. We'll now go into closed session.
Are we really gonna eat candy that John brought us? I mean, would y'all trust that?
John brought
I won't be able to go to work tomorrow. I mean, stomach cramps.
Look, all I gotta say is, how about them Nottaway Cougars? Undefeated. If y'all can get down there to the game tomorrow night, get down there to the game. No, that's senior night tomorrow night. Yep.